For your project, the OCS, Optimal Capital Structure Project, you have already calculated the actual WACC based on the market values of debt and equity. So your beta is a levered beta. You're going to first need to determine the unlevered beta. From there, you will calculate various required return on your equity based on different levels of leverage. Once you have calculated the unlevered beta, you are then going to calculate levered betas at different weights of debt. The more difficult part is trying to decide what the cost of debt is going to be at different leverage levels. This is going to require research and also some intuition about how the change in the cost of debt as the percentage of debt decreases or increases. And it will be different. If you are talking at low levels of debt, the risk of bankruptcy is probably still pretty small. If your company is starting with a higher level of debt, then you may see that the debt level, as the debt level increases, then the R sub D really does increase significantly. You might find then that your company should actually reduce its debt. How are you going to come up with estimates for this required return on the debt? You can use analyst reports. You can analyze competitive firms. Find similar firms with similar risk levels to get some ideas. Go into Morningstar and try to find comparable firms. Morningstar gives you the credit rating for your firm's debt when you pull up the values, and you should be able to find some reasonable, intuitive understanding about how the cost of debt is going to change. You're going to want to, you must justify your decisions in the write-up and make sure you use citations and references. Now, you can use this table. There is a sample optimal capital structure Excel sheet. And notice it looks very similar, the top half does, to our WACC calculations, but it's also going to have a table similar to the one that we just used. So you input the tax rate, you input the existing amount of debt, you input the number of shares now, and the current stock price. It will give you then the Excel sheet, calculates the market value of equity, the total value of the firm, and calculates the existing capital structure, how much was financed with equity and how much with debt. It then examines your cost of capital. You input, the cost of debt, the weighted average cost of debt, which you determined from your WACC project. You know what the existing beta that you're using is. And if you recall, you have 3 estimates for beta, but you made a final decision on what the appropriate beta was, and that's what you input now. You've already determined what your risk-free rate is and what your market risk premium. And the Excel sheet will calculate what your WACC is. Now, notice in this example, we are only using the CAP-M model to determine what our R sub E is. And the reason is because we want to use Hamada's equation to do the levered betas. That is really the most straightforward way of seeing the impact of debt on the cost of equity. So you have to put in at various amounts of debt, and this is again a sample table. If you're starting off with 50%, then this table clearly you can't simply use this identical table, but it does give you a sample from which to work. This Excel sheet will actually do the Hamada equations for you. So it will calculate, you gave it a levered beta, it calculates the unlevered, and then in line 3, you see these various betas. And as the debt percentage increases, the beta increases. As the beta increases, the required return on stock increases. We also will have the required return on debt increasing. That was what you had to estimate. And so we can see the different WACs for the different percentages of debt. If you've adopted the spreadsheet for the WAC and the OCS, then you already actually have most of the data input done. The only thing that you'll need to re-examine are the various bond rates at each of the levels of debt. As I mentioned, Hamada's equation is also done, so you don't need to self-calculate these different levered betas. You're welcome to, and you need to be able to calculate different levered betas for the exam, perhaps, but you do not need to do the calculations for each of the levels of debt. The spreadsheet will do it for you.